The following is a special presentation of ABC Sports.
ABC Sports presents live in its 30th anniversary season the Professional Bowlers Tour. Today from North Brunswick, New Jersey, it's the Johnny Petraglia PBA Open. Making his 4th appearance this year is Dave Ferraro. His opponent will be George Branham III of Indianapolis. That winner will face 14-time titleist Steve Cook. In our semifinal game, we'll see Billy Young of Edmond, Oklahoma. And our tournament leader is Joe Salvemini. That's our outstanding field of finalists for this afternoon's Professional Bowlers Tour telecast. The professional bowlers have returned to the greater New York area. In fact, they've come to North Brunswick, New Jersey for the $150,000 Johnny Petraglia Open. We've come today to one of my favorite spots anywhere in the US of A, Princeton, New Jersey, home of Princeton University. Hello again, I'm Chris Schenkel. Behind me, the oldest and most historically significant building on this campus, Nassau Hall. This is where it all began. The building was completed in 1756. It has served as a barracks, as a hospital for both the Continental and British troops during the Revolutionary War. Princeton has turned out statesmen, writers, scientists, you name them. For instance, in the class of 1771, James Madison graduated, became the first graduate student, became our 4th president, and also is the father of our Constitution. Woodrow Wilson was president of this university, and he brought it from a small college into an internationally famous research center. Albert Einstein lived here. T.S. Eliot passed through. So did Scott Fitzgerald. The list goes on and on. So does our bowling tour. Let's now move to Carolier Lanes and hear from my colleague, Nelson Burton Jr. Bo?
Thank you, Chris Schenkel. And about 20 miles north of the Princeton campus is Carolier Lanes, home of the 2nd annual Johnny Petraglia Open. This is one of the largest bowling centers in the United States with 82 lanes. The sellout crowd is anxious for the action. And this bowling center has a reputation of many high scores. We had 7 300 games here this week, 222 average to make the top 24. That's the highest of the 1992 PBA season. And the mystique of the high scores goes way back at Carolier Lanes. In 1963, Ray Blue set a PBA record with a 254 average for 6 games, yet he only finished 2nd in the tournament to the great Dick Weber. So we expect more high scores today in the finals action. Now let's look at how the players are attacking the championship pair. The oil is placed 45 feet down the lane this week. That's the longest oil we've had all year long. A little heavier concentration between the 2nd and 3rd arrows on the right-hand side. The last 15 feet are relatively dry. Now the players are playing a number of different angles this week. The 2 outside players on the right are right down the edge, outside the 1st arrow into the 1-3 pocket. Our powerful left-hander Steve Cook's near the center out to the edge. Our tournament leader, Joe Salvemini, is coming down the left edge, and George Branham III is playing down the center of the lane. Very diversified angles, Chris, and a lot of money at stake. That's right. In the Johnny Petraglia Open, $150,000 broken down in this manner. 28 to the champion, 14-5, 85, 65, and 5. And before one of the largest crowds I've seen in 30 years of doing this show here in New Jersey at Carolier Lanes, Dave Ferraro shakes the hand of George Branham III. It'll be Ferraro, who was the 5th seed, his 4th television appearance this year, finished 5th in all 3 telecasts. That's where he's starting today, starting on the left lane. The same thing that's plagued him, Bo, in the other 3 appearances. That single pin, a 7. All right, Chris, he's hit around the pocket, and one thing has happened to David in his other appearances where he has been defeated. He's off to a slow start, and I think he's conscious that he's going to put a little more pressure on his opponent, hopefully in the first couple of frames.
So Dave Ferraro of Kingston, New York, starts with a spare, and we got to know 29-year-old George Branham III from Indianapolis. Started out in the Detroit area, a good high school basketball player. Bowled out of California. Now he's bowling out of the capital city of Indiana. Beautiful, beautiful shot.
powerful style of George Branham, kind of a creeping motion. Now, I'll tell you what, watch the position of his right foot right here as he pivots through. Everything else is in good shape. Now, he'll drive through with that right foot, staying low, that wrist underneath the ball, and look at that finish. That is just perfect. He's off to a good start with the strike.
Hoping to double. And that puts George on top against Dave Ferraro. George, who won his first title 1986 in the Brunswick Memorial World Open. With a spare working now, Dave Ferraro with 6 titles in his 13-year PBA career. Beautiful close-up of that pocket hit. Happens quickly, doesn't it?
Good shot, you're right, Chris. 5-step delivery, Ferraro. Once again, he's in almost the same position as his opponent, George Branham. But look at here. He is not quite pivoted onto the end of his right foot. And there's where he gets the key as he drives through, a little more upright style. And see the hand going directly to the target. Neither one of these players are turning their hands over the top of the ball as Dave Ferraro waits for a re-rack on the left-hand lane. He's allowed to. He's looking for a little different setup in the third frame.
And if he can strike on the left lane, marked with a spare there, when we started this game, he'll even the game. Okay, we're all even. So he has tamed the left lane.
Good point, Chris. And George Branham, I watched him all day on Friday, and he had a little bit of trouble with the right-hand lane. If there was anything that slowed George down, he was hitting around the pocket on the right-hand lane, which doesn't hook quite as much as the left. This is his key.
And George goes back on top now with 3 in a row. George Branham III is an 8-year tour veteran. But, you know, George still has some goals.
Well, my goals this year, Bo, is to, of course, win again and get back into Firestone. And I want to be more of a threat out on tour. I mean, last 4 years I haven't been doing that well. And I think now my game is coming to a head that I can be a threat out here.
Now to go up by 20. It's a 4-bagger. We mentioned Princeton. We're right near Rutgers, where the first intercollegiate football game was played in 1869. And Bud Wilkinson and I and ABC did the 100th anniversary game in 1969. Rutgers University, the entrance to another wonderful New Jersey institution. We'll be back. 82 lanes. They have really put the people in here today. A huge crowd, standing room only. Carolier Lanes in North Brunswick, New Jersey. Trailing by 20, can cut the lead to 10. Ferraro. And he does just that. Dave Ferraro clarifies the turning point, which pushed him into today's finals.
Well, all week I was up in the top 5 until last night. I had a real bad start. I shot 160 my third game and dropped 100 pins out of the show. I was kind of fooling around with different bowling balls, and I finally got the right one, and I won my last 4 games, and that was the key to getting here today.
Now to tie the game. All but the 10 on the left lane, Nelson.
Chris, and he failed to mention that little interview. The one bad game he had, which almost knocked him out, was the 41st game, and he left 7 10 pins in that game. And that's the only thing that's plagued him all week long.
Okay. Meanwhile, George Branham is quickly up. 4 frames, 4 strikes, leading by 11.
Sweet shot from George here after 4 strikes in a row, and a key for George is to come right up the back of the bowling ball. He does it here. He gets the solid 10.
All right, carefully, as we look at his wife, Jackie, in from Indianapolis to watch her husband bowl today.
And when I say about George Branham coming up the back of the bowling ball, George has a very powerful wrist action, and he wants to keep his fingers underneath the ball and let them come through the center of the ball. If his hand goes around the side and over the top, he gets a spinning action, using the full grip. Now see how he keeps his hand underneath the ball? That's where he wants to snap the wrist from.
After a four-bagger, marking then with a spare, covering the 10-pin, it's another strike for Branham. This is our first match.
Ferraro, a very similar grip, a little shorter span, and the key Ferraro is also the same. He uses a little looser grip, but stay behind the ball and underneath.
All right, very important, pivotal strike right there. Because if he can double, it'll even the match again when it looked like Branham might really pull away, Nelson.
You're right, Chris, and this is the scoring we expected. Right now, if you take them off the sheet, as they sort of say in the Professional Bowlers Tour, it'd be Ferraro 269 and Branham 279. You see how Ferraro is playing the lane. Start in the center, he's got a pretty straight approach, and he's going to be right around this first arrow. So you can see this, right along the edge, almost the perfect angle.
And at the last moment, the 10-pin here in this first game, it is all even in the Johnny Petraglia Open, North Brunswick, New Jersey. We'll be back. Don't go away. Events, World Challenge of Champions, Iditarod Trail, Sled Dog Race, and the Florida Derby, Branham. Another 10-pin on the right lane in this even match. George shows very little emotion, a very cool customer at 5'10", 170 pounds. Last win was the 1987 AC Delco Classic. His first win was the Brunswick World Open. And he continues to mark as we go to Bo and a big guy. Bo.
Thank you, Chris. The big guy, Steve Cook. Steve, the right-hander's just bombing him out there right now. We figured that would happen. Does it make any difference to you as a left-hander whether you bowl a righty or a lefty?
No, it doesn't really make any difference to me. I'm just going to go out and bowl myself. You know, if I go out there and throw 12 good shots, I'm going to win or lose. And if I throw 12 good shots, then I'm going to be happy, and we'll just see what happens from there.
That's the attitude of a winner, Chris. Back to you for more action.
On the left lane, Branham. That was a strike coming late in our game in this tight one. Still all even. Joe Salvemini, the tournament leader, continues to practice off to the right. That's the pinfall you're hearing. To take the lead. What a battle, Bo. You know, next Saturday, the Pro Bowlers Tour rolls into the home of rock and roll. It's the Cleveland Open. Live, 3 Eastern, 2 Central, and 3 Pacific on ABC Sports. That's the Cleveland Open.
Norm Duke, the defending champion. Now, Ferraro, who hasn't won a game in the championship round this year, has a chance to take a 20-pin lead, 9th frame.
Dave Ferraro in his 35th television appearance, his 4th this year, and he stated earlier that he's tired of being 5th. Maybe he can do something about it. He's bowling as best anybody could, but here's Branham, who started out hot. Can he finish hot?
Here's the angle that George Branham's playing. You're going to see the ball travel right between the 2nd and 3rd arrows out to about the 7th board. Not quite as wide as you see Ferraro play it. The perfect shot, and he's set himself up where he has a chance for a 259. More importantly, he can even the match with a strike on the first ball in the 10th frame.
Makings of a fantastic ending
You're right, Chris. And George Branham looking to the right of the scoreboard as you see Ferraro looking off to the left. Branham needed 2 strikes to make the top 5 last night. He answered that call with 2 powerful strikes, finishing the game, making the top 5. Once again, the pressure's on him. It's anybody's match.
Leaving the disappointing 2-pin. 2-pin disappointing for his wife Jackie and for George here in our first game. The winner will meet a Firestone champion, a U.S. Open champion named Steve Cook. Any chance of a tie, Nelson?
Very possible, Chris. 248 for George Branham. Dave Ferraro must strike on this ball to win the match outright. If he doesn't strike, if he gets 9 spare strike, we have a tie, the first one all year.
Huge loft out into the lane. Terrific sportsmanship. These professionals, your fellow professionals, Bo.
Right, Chris. And what Ferraro's doing is looking for the scoreboard, and George Branham's almost conceding it, but we don't concede in pro bowling. As Del Ballard, our statistician, will verify, he has to keep it on the lane. That's a winner right there, Chris.
That's right. All right. Ferraro will meet Cook. ABC Sports presentation of the Professional Bowlers Tour will return after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
The Pro Bowlers Tour, brought to you by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light. By the AMF Sumo, flat out more power than you've ever seen in a bowling center. And by Kellogg's, proud sponsor of our 1992 U.S. Olympic team.
Here at Carolier Lanes in North Brunswick, New Jersey, Dave Ferraro has won the first match, 255 to 248, each professional with 8 strikes. Our biggest match thus far in our 10 tournaments here on ABC Sports. You know, over the years, we've had the opportunity to see a few players make a lot of money. The long journey was started by that left-hander from the West Coast. His name was Earl Anthony, the first millionaire.
Toledo, Ohio, Chris, the national championship. Earl Anthony going over the 1 million.
Historical achievement for Earl Anthony.
He's the winner. He's going to be in the 220s, even with a bad count.
Look at that. He is over the $1 million mark. 43 years old, his 38th victory, his 5th national championship. What a competitor. And since that day 10 years ago, 6 more have been added, including one last week, Brian Voss. And the next possibility would be this man. Less than 7,000 is needed by Amleto Monicelli. Here we go now with match 2, Dave Ferraro going against Steve Cook. Steve won his last singles title in 1988 in Phoenix. 6'7", 275. Huge, Bo.
Biggest man on the Professional Bowlers Tour. Well, notice the left-handers, our tournament leaders, Joe Salvemini and Steve Cook, playing a little bit farther towards the center of the lane. The right-handers had the edge and angle this week as they could play outside, the lefties in. You see Cook's ball sliding by, leaving the 3-pin. And the reason the lefties had to play farther inside, Chris, the oil was placed more on the right side of the lane this week.
Steve Cook, all in black. From Roseville, California, Kingston, New York's Dave Ferraro. First shot of his second match, 255 in the first with 8 strikes. And also a 3-pin, but let's add the 10.
The 310 baby split, as we call it. pretty easy shot under normal circumstances. All Dave has to do is get the ball to the right of the 3-pin, the ball deflect into the 10.
A few anxious moments with that body English, but it's a mark.
An interesting scenario for Dave Ferraro, as you see him having the ball deflect from the 3 into the 10. He bowled 255 the first game. He did not complete the game, as you see Steve Cook putting some tape in his ball. When I say that Ferraro didn't complete the game, he needed a good count on his fill ball or 11th frame. He left the 8-10 split and just pushed the button, and he would have had 256. That's an automatic fine for the PBA. He has a $100 fine, but he still wins the game. He's going on against Cook, who has started with a spare.
All right. And this time Steve has left the 7-pin on the left lane. Actually, Steve's last title was a doubles victory with his brother-in-law, Mike Albee.
Cook will be hard and straight at the 7-pin. We've timed this before. At 22 miles per hour, he cuts that hook down. And for people with trouble with the corner spares, a good lesson. Throw it hard, cut the hook down.
Couple of spares for Cook. Carefully looking over the pin setup here on the left lane.
Well, you got a good eye, Chris Schenkel. I stayed here late last night, and Cook had one complaint. He complained about the pin setup on the left-hand lane, asked our PBA officials to move the head pin slightly to the right. It's right on spot now. He has to be happy with it, but that's the pin he checked, the head pin. It was about a 1/4 inch off spot. A tentative Steve Cook, Chris. We don't see that very often. Usually he's out there attacking, as he's left a very difficult spare, the 2-4-7-8. You got to guard against the chop and still carry out the 8-pin. All he has to do is get the ball in here, let the ball drive out the 2, carry the 4, and always that tough back 8-pin.
Steve's first title, 1979 at Alameda. We always did an enjoyable stop in that suburb of San Francisco, Alameda, California. Open frame, 7-pin left lane.
Steve always plagued by spares. It's been the one shortcoming of his game. As you see the sharp breaking hook take out the 2, 4, and 8, leaving the 7. He lost the tournament, the true value, by 1 pin a couple years ago by missing a spare in the 10th.
And Dave Ferraro jumping on it. You know, following the Professional Bowlers Tour next on ABC's Wide World of Sports, heading to Oslo, Norway, where the 1988 Olympic gold medalists Gordieva and Grünkopf take the ice against skating top pairs in the World Challenge of Champions. Plus, from Alaska, the dramatic finish, the Iditarod trail race, then heading south for live coverage of the Florida Derby. Wide World. In our 30th anniversary year of music nostalgia. 30 years ago, Kenny Ball gave us Midnight in Moscow. That's next Saturday. We're in the greater metropolitan New York area, North Brunswick, New Jersey. In 3 weeks, we'll be back in the New York metropolitan area for Leisure's Long Island Open in Sayville. Look forward to that. Now, Steve Cook trailing by 36, open frame, 4th. Second game against Dave Ferraro. Still that single pin, 6-pin for Steve Cook. Steve's best year, he has won a total of 14 tournaments, was in '86. He won 4 championships, at that time earning $115,000. Now for that single pin, carefully setting himself left to center, southpaw ready. Still trailing by 36 as we join Nelson.
Shakel in the semifinal match, Billy Young Jr. Billy, the lanes look in ideal shape. You get to choose who starts the semifinal match, whether you start or your opponent. Have you made any decision?
Not yet. I'm going to wait till I throw a couple of practice shots on the pair. Lanes are a little tighter than they have been all week, but they're really playable today.
All right. He's going to pick when he gets out there, Chris, and as he said, they're very playable and high scoring. Back to you.
Steve switched balls in that last frame. Here he is, trying it again. Four pin. Steve Cook against Dave Ferraro. The winner of the match will go against Billy Young, semifinalist, and then our tournament leader from Oklahoma City, Joe Salvemini.
Cook just completely struggling on the championship pair. The first appearance by a left-hander. Remember, our tournament leader, Joe Salvemini, is a lefty. You'll see how he fares. Right now, Cook has to really get in gear to stay in this match.
And carefully covers the pin. Now Dave Ferraro, who's 5'7", weighs 155 pounds. Coming up high.
Well, he got away with a shot in the 9th frame of his match against George Branham III. He pulled the ball in the left-hand lane. It's set in the pocket, and I think he's kind of depended on that shot a couple of times. Remember, he tripped the 4-pin the previous frame. Now he's high here in the 5th.
Suppose it's my imagination on the last shot prior to the spare. Was he moving more rapidly on the approach? It looked like he was racing to the line.
I agree, Chris. One tendency you have when you want one is to let those feet go too fast. You get a little out of time, you pull the ball.
That certainly wasn't tippy-toe, but that had beautiful tempo.
Well, he is a tempo player. He uses his legs a lot for leverage, as all these players do. They're mostly leg players, not too much arm players. Steve Cook has power anywhere he wants it. Right now, he has to put the ball in the pocket. I think he has to go with a little more speed and start attacking.
Sixth frame and still struggling. Our left-hander from California.
What's the style of Steve Cook? Now, he has an ideal swing for a big man. He's up top, but look at how, once again, his pivot step is right in line with his target. Now, watch the swing come down inside out. He's playing the big hook ball, and when we have long oil, remember I said it's 45 feet down the lane, long oil does not favor the big hook ball player, hence Steve Cook in a little trouble.
As we pointed out, Steve Cook has been a dominant player from 80 to 86. He says a lifestyle change altered that dominance, but he's back.
Well, Bo, in 1988, I opened up a business back in California and took a lot of time away from my practice, wasn't able to do what I used to do to come out here and compete. And about 2-3 months ago, just before the winter tour, me and my wife and my partner back home looked at some tapes, saw some things that we needed to work on, and I've been bowling pretty well so far this year. Continue.
And he's still in that bowling ball supply business and will mesh the tour and his business together the rest of the season.
All right, and the fans cheer for Steve Cook. Continues to trail, but got them all with one shot. We'll be back with... Wide World follows us. We're at Carolier Lanes in North Brunswick, New Jersey. Dave Ferraro leading by 36. Strike up. Leads by 46. Going against Steve Cook. Dave Ferraro of Kingston, New York won the first match 255 to George Branham III's 248.
Ferraro with an ideal style for the championship pair. He doesn't hook the ball too much. He's what we call a down-the-line player, as will be his opponent if he wins this match, Billy Young. But Ferraro keeps his hand behind the ball with a good loft over the collar.
Ferraro, groovy today. 56-pin lead at this point of the match.
Well, it's absolutely must-strike time for Steve Cook. The best he can bowl is 222. Ferraro right now going at a 220 plus pace, so Cook has to strike.
And again, it's a 7-pin.
Let's look at why the big power bowler and the man who throws the big ball in this group is Steve Cook. Why he struggles. He's starting the ball here. Now remember, the oil is all the way down the lane to here. So what happens is ball kind of hangs and doesn't finish. If the oil was a little shorter, the edge might go his way. Not this week.
Okay. Among the great fans anywhere in the world are those from the metropolitan New York area. We know, we lived here and did so many events. And what a cross-section, Bo, we have here in Carolier Lanes today. We have 5 junior Pro-Am winners, some of the high school bowlers, as the New Jersey State High School Championship was played earlier to our right as part of this 82-lane house.
A lot of action. And right now for Steve Cook, he's going to be watching it for the next 45 minutes. The best he can do is 202. He's in trouble.
Another 10-pin.
Now the best he can do is 191. And Chris, you're talking about the New Yorkers showing up for this. In the Pro-Am alone, we had Athelia Gibson, the Wimbledon champion, Harry Carson, linebacker, Giants, Phil Belpiano, who played for the Raiders, Sean Lundetta, the punter for the Giants, Phil Muchnick from the New York Post, who's on hand today, was down here, Dave Jennings, Tom Gatewood, the great from the Giants, was also all in the Pro-Am on Monday.
And fortunately, Steve Cook now has covered that 10-pin. Yeah, Bo, that's quite a list.
And it goes on and on, Chris. That is just a few. As you see, Dave Ferraro up with a chance to bowl at 268.
His opponent will be Billy Young and then Joe Salvemini for the Johnny Petraglia Open Championship. That's the format coming up.
This
more
match
games.
This match is over, Chris, and we talked during the break between the first and second matches what we thought would happen. I said Ferraro would have had a chance to break the 4-game record of 1050 if he keeps going.
That record of 1050 held by my colleague Nelson Burton, who did not bowl this week, took a week off. Dale Ballard, our statistician, finished 24th. You know, this week, Bo's tip, where he asked Robert Lawrence to offer some advice on how to get out of a slump. Watch and listen, Bo's tip of the week.
On last week's bowling tip, we talked about practicing. And keeping the tip in that same vein, we have with us touring professional Robert Lawrence. Now, Robert, you got in a little bit of a slump last year. What was your problem?
Too soft of a ball speed. I had to create more ball speed to get the ball down the lane a little better.
I see here in the replay here, you had a real low position, a short backswing, and obviously the ball broke way too much on the lane. Now, Robert, with that kind of problem, you can't score very well. So what did you really do to change your game and get out of this slump?
Well, I had to raise my ball swing up a little bit. And by doing that, I raised the ball from waist high, as you can see on the left there, to about chest high, as the picture on the right. What that created was a higher push away, which created a higher backswing. It got the ball about 5 or 6 feet further down the lane with the ball speed.
All right, Robert, how long or how many practice sessions did you really work on it to develop your speed?
It took me about 3 or 4 weeks to get comfortable with it.
All right, take a tip from Robert Lawrence to develop more ball speed, hold it higher in the push away, get a longer swing, and get that practice in.
Tournament summary after 2 games here in the $150,000 Johnny Petraglia Open. Dave Ferraro winning the first game against George Branham III, 255 to 248 with 8 strikes. Dave came back against Steve Cook in the second game, 9 strikes. Total score of 267 to 180. Now he goes against another right-hander named Billy Young, and it should be a great match. Here's John Petraglia and his wife Pat, and Johnny too. What a wonderful young man he is. And the tournament is named for him, Bo, and Lee Livingston, the managing director here, he and his staff have done such a wonderful job at promoting this the last 2 years. There's Lee.
Terrific job. You're right, Chris, and his wife right next to him. And once again, A great, outstanding crowd, and little Johnny Jr. once made a bowling tip of the week a few months ago for us.
And there's Phil Mushnick and his wife Debbie. Phil, the distinguished TV columnist for the New York Post, and bowled in the Pro-Am, is a great pal of Johnny Petraglia, plays a lot of golf and bowling with him. Okay, Bo, what about this group of people?
Usual size of the field, Chris, 160 game average. Look at the top 24, the highest of the season, 222. Benoit was in the top 5 last year here. Parker Bone made a charge, a local. Phil Ringener, Bobby Fleetwood, 11th. Wilson, a new rookie on the tour. Watch him. Jeff Hickenbotham, first finals. Mike Shady, Shipe, tied for 14th place. Deadeye, 16th. Couch on his quest to be the Rookie of the Year. Purvis Granger says hi to a friend of his, Buffy. Scott Devers breaking out of his slump. Scott Myers, McCune, Fireball down there, 21st place. Andy Nyer, a good guy. Laster, first top 24. And holding up the trophy, our gutter ball expert, Del Ballard Jr.
Okay. All right. Marsh, that cheer is for Del Ballard, who is our scorekeeper, and they recognize that great hero. March 21st, Cleveland Open, Parma Heights. That's next week. We'll be on live at 3 Eastern. We hope you'll be back joining us. And then in 2 weeks, we'll go a little bit west. The Bud Light PBA National Championship in Toledo, Ohio. Great event.
Then it's on to Sayville, Chris. Now the semifinal match. The one guy I think can stop the runaway train of Dave Ferraro is Billy Young. Remember his strategy? He said he didn't know whether he wanted to start or finish. He is making Dave Ferraro start the match. That means that the first one to finish will be Billy Young.
He may have made Dave Ferraro angry.
I'll say the one fellow that can really, I'll say it again, can really get it going out here is Billy Young. These lanes are made for him, but once again, he's been sitting on the sideline for 45 minutes, and he is a bit nervous. Let's see what happens.
Leaving a 3-pin on the right lane.
Billy Young with an ideal 4-step delivery. Has a little stutter step in the middle of his step. Now he slides, and now he waits for his ball. Now look at the position he is right here. Arm in perfect position. He's going to pivot onto this right pivot step, drive through with a low knee bend. That time he didn't quite get the ball speed he needed to make the ball set up in the pocket. An easy spare, the 3-pin.
Billy, who won his first title in Windsor, Ontario, Canada in 1985. He has won 2. His second title was the Tums Classic. Windsor locks Connecticut as the top seed.
Billy Young, and a great outside player. And watch how he sets up. Many people have trouble with this line. He'll be out here. He'll slide in this zone, and watch where that ball goes. Just outside the first arrow, hanging along the edge. But he is an expert.
And the 34-year-old will be faced by the 6-pin on the left lane. On his right sleeve, left side of your screen, Billy Young is wearing a Strikeout Drugs patch. There it is. DBA very much behind striking out of all drugs. Illegal drugs. So it's a 1-pin lead by Ferraro, who is up. Can increase it to 11. Strike in the second. And give him a double. He now has 19 strikes after 2 games and 2 frames into his 3rd match.
And he's got them all going. He's got the light hit going, and he's got the trip 4 going. When he can carry that from that outside line, Katie bar the door. And right now, the only thing that can help Billy Young is if something unlucky happens to Ferraro, because Ferraro has got it all going.
And everything is coming up. Strikes. Whew.
see the line. Now watch how Ferraro comes through the ball, the good loft over the foul line and arm directly towards the target. The six pin pops out to 10. He's perfect through 3. Billy Young has to get it going right now.
And now a 4-pin.
Billy looking down at the lane. What should I do? What should I do? It's easy to see from the announce booth the extreme pressure he's under against an opponent who is red hot like Ferraro. Is very simple. He needs a little more ball speed. That ball will just set right there in the pocket, or a little bit more loft over the foul line as Ferraro is using.
A spare, Billy Young, recognized as one of the purest outside line shooters, describes why the outside works so well.
Well, I think there are two important things to think about whenever you're playing the gutter. First is overcoming the fear of playing near the channel, and the second is moving your eyes up and down the lane, controlling your break point, spotting closer to the foul line when the lanes are tied and further down the lane when the lanes are hooking.
The left lane hooking a little more than the right. He'll spot a little farther down, and hopefully he can get it going right here in the 4th.
Started out bowling at 8, grew up idolizing Tita Semez, a New Jersey bowler from River's Edge. We'll be back with more of the 3rd game. All right, we're back again. Semifinal game. Dave Ferraro has won the first 2, averaging over 260. 3 in a row now. 4th frame. Okay. Dave Ferraro, 6 titles, as we now go down to Bo Burton with 17 titles.
Thank you, Chris Schenkel. Our tournament leader, Joe Salvemini. Joe, who would you rather bowl, the red-hot Ferraro or your good friend from your hometown, Oklahoma City, Billy Young?
Well, really, there's no preference. Let's just get it on. I'm ready to bowl, but it would be fun to bowl Billy. You know, we've been friends from way back, and it would be kind of interesting to see it happen. So, Billy Young.
All right, he wants Billy Young, but he's got his hands full, Chris.
Well, we were sort of hoping that Dave Ferraro could string a few more. In fact, a lot more. But he left a 10-pin on the left lane. We're dying to give away that 100,000 true value hardware for a perfect game. And it's Ferraro who leads by 31 as Billy Young, his opponent, is up and can cut it to 21 with a strike in the 5th frame.
Billy Young, a little more loft over the foul line, a little more speed. He can get right back in this match because he can murder these pairs when he gets zeroed in.
Confidence builder with that double. Next, Wide World of Sports. From Oslo, Norway, Olympic gold medalist Gordieven Grinkov. They skate so beautifully. They'll go against other top pairs. And from Alaska, dramatic finish of the Iditarod. Then head south for a little warmer climate and the thoroughbreds. Live coverage of the Florida Derby. All next, Wide World.
Key shot for Billy Young. Nobody has pushed Dave Ferraro other than Branham in the early going. Let's see if Young can get back in the match right here. Crowd really getting into it now. 11 pins separating Ferraro, with whom we're looking in. Billy Young. Ferraro with the spare up, shooting in the 6th frame. Now with 22 strikes today, has an 11-pin lead, can up it to 21. He and his wife, Gloria, parents of John David and Gabrielle. Check the pin action of the 4-pin in the left-hand part. Here it gets hit by the 2-pin. It slides over and takes out the 6. Fantastic.
All right. We're in North Brunswick, New Jersey, Carolier Lanes, Johnny Petraglia Open. We'll be back.
The Cleveland Open. Who will be there? The usual suspects. Why? It's a crime to miss it. Next Saturday on ABC Sports.
We're looking at 34-year-old Billy Young, bowling out of Edmond, Oklahoma, going against Dave Ferraro in our third game of the afternoon. Ferraro winning the first two big. Young trailing here by 21, can cut it to 11 with a strike.
Once again, speed is the difference. Billy Young, when he gets that ball well out over the foul line and keeps the speed up, has the ball set up right in the pocket. And right now, the way Ferraro's bowling, even when you get a four-pin or any time you come off a string, it's like an open frame the way Ferraro's bowling. Right now, Billy Young would trail by 22 with a conversion here in the 7th.
All right. Billy Young, winner will meet Joe Salvemini, at whom we're looking. 36-year-old from Oklahoma City, lefty.
Salvemini very confident over there, Chris. He felt like this is his week from the get-go Thursday night in the qualifying rounds, and right now he's watching to see which man will face him for the championship. 8th frame for both players. First really errant shot that we've seen either one of the right-handers uncork today. Billy traveling over to the left side of the head pin. Has a pretty simple spare of the 9-pin, but he needed to keep the strikes going. He's not out of it. He's going at a 2:16 pace. So far, Ferraro at a 2:39 pace through just 7 frames.
Dauber looks a little bit down, not pleased that much with his performance and things that have happened to him today. But Ferraro, double working, leading by 20, can up it. Now he leads by 33. Tomorrow here on ABC, there's no speed limit for race fans. That is, the men that drive the cars of NASCAR, kicking off their season high gear. Defending Winston Cup champ Dale Earnhardt looks to lead the pack in the Motorcraft 500. Then, in identical cars, the world's best drivers go full throttle in round 1 of the International Race of Champions. That's tomorrow, ABC. Crossover toward Kingston, New York.
It's all Ferraro's way today. Right now, he's put Billy Young just about out of commission. Billy can still finish with 236. Ferraro a possible 279. Ferraro has got to start thinking record, Chris. He's averaging 261 through the first 2 games. If he goes out for 279 here, he'll have 800 for 3 games.
Billy's most powerful strike of the match. Sort of a wry smile of, where were you earlier?
Well, that's a matter of a little pressure. He's bowled very well, but everything's gone Ferraro's way. Not taking anything away from Ferraro, possible 279, but he's tripped out the 6, he's crossed over, he's carried the wall, he's slapped the 10. But it's his day. Remember, this man has gone through a lot of championship round woes in the last couple years, and he is a champion, no doubt.
The high hit.
We talked record, 1050, 1984 on a long oil pattern. I was the lucky one to set that record, and I hate to get on eye syndrome, but let's see what Ferraro would actually need. If he takes this game out for 279, that'd give him 801 for the first 3. He would need 249 to tie in the championship game and 250 for a new record.
All right. Delightful guy, Billy Young.
How's his concentration? He didn't even know it was the 10th frame. Here's the conversion, the 3-9-10. Perfect. He'll finish with a 216 with a strike.
Fans appreciate Billy's efforts getting to the number 2 spot out of a huge field and tough competition. But today his game was off and he was going against Dave Ferraro, who has 4 in a row here at the end. Wow. So Dave has won 3. Brian Voss last week won 4 matches for his championship. So can Dave do it? Missed that shot, Bo.
Dave, you got to have a big game now to break the record, bud. He wins this game easily with 246. He is now 107.78 for his first 3 matches. In the championship match, Chris, he'll need a 270-something to break the record.
Breathe easily, my friend Bo. ABC Sports presentation of the Professional Bowlers Tour will return after this message and a word from our ABC station.
Hello, I'm Frank Gifford in New York. We'll return to bowling in just a moment. Coming up next on ABC's Wide World of Sports, we'll continue our coverage of professional figure skating's World Challenger Champions today, featuring the pairs competition. We'll also bring you the exciting conclusion of the grueling Iditarod Trail sled dog race, and then we'll go live to Gulfstream Park as the 3-year-olds take to the track for the Florida Derby. That's all ahead at 4:30 Eastern, right after bowling. Let's return now to Chris Shackle and today's final match. Chris?
Thank you very much, Frank Gifford. And here in New Jersey, not too far from where Frank is, Dave Ferraro started things off with a 255-248 win over George Branham III. Dave came right back. He had 9 strikes in that one. He had 8 strikes in his victory, 267-180 over Steve Cook. 8 more strikes in his victory over Billy Young, 246-215. So now it's going to be a right-hander, Dave Ferraro against left-handed Joe Salvemini. Next week, Cleveland. 2 weeks from today, March 28th, the $300,000 Bud Light PBA National Championship in Toledo. A man here has won the National Championship to go along with the U.S. Open and the Firestone. That's why he is one of 3 Triple Crown champions. Our host here, Johnny Petraglia. What a telecast we're having on scoring, John.
Oh, this is great so far, Chris. Ferraro putting on a tremendous performance today.
I'll ask John this. John, basically, you know this pair of lanes, 35 and 36. When the righties are going that good and the left-handers have to play inside, does Salvemini have any chance against Ferraro?
Well, I think Salvemini has a chance, Bo, as long as he can get by lane 36. 36 tends to overhook a little bit more than 35. I think Joe will do fine on lane 35. It's a question of whether he can hit 36 or not.
John, you're going to stay here with us and make some comments when you wish to. We're proud of you. You've had a wonderful career. You have a lot of friends.
Well, thank you, Chris. And let's hope we make some more friends this last game.
Okay, here we go. Capacity crowd, one of the largest we've seen in 30 years. Here at Carolier Lanes, Dave Ferraro. 3 victories, going now against the tournament leader, 28,000 to the victor, 14,500 to the runner-up. Shot number 1. Hit.
Well, the first time that Ferraro has failed to really threaten the pocket in the early frames. He came out and was light in the very first shot of the telecast, but ever since then he's been zeroed. A couple of things could be happening. After over an hour of bowling, big crowd, a lot of heat, the lanes could be changing slightly. Let's see how he adjusts.
All right, he continues to mark. 25 strikes, 3 victories. Now, here he is. 5'10", 170 pounds, 36-year-old Joe Salvemini, born in San Francisco, 3 titles. Last win was in Austin, Texas in 1989.
Johnny Petraglia, let's set it up for Salvemini as we see his style. He's very smooth. He has a good inside swing. Look at his pivot step right there. Once again, the key, the pivot step is in the exact direction as the arm swing. and he goes right to target. And Johnny, the key, obviously he hit the right-hand lane, which you thought we'd have trouble with. How about the left-hand lanes? They play about the same?
Well, he could be just fine, Bo, because if he's going to hit 36, I'm going to go out on a limb and say he's going to hit 35.
Waiting all that time and doubling in his first game of the afternoon. For Ferraro, his fourth.
Some quick stats. The tournament leader, who is Salvemini, so far this year, the tournament leader has only won 3 times in 9 chances, so this favors Ferraro.
There he is with his patented pocket hit that you've seen 26 times today.
For the record we spoke about, so far Dave Ferraro has a score of 778 for 3 games. That relates to 259 plus average. He needs a 273, which makes him strike the next 8 balls to break the record.
There's one, Bo. We love Nelson Burton because that 1050 record is his. But Bo's like all the great athletes. They don't mind their records being broken as long as it's done by somebody with a lot of talent.
No doubt about that with Dave Ferraro, but he still has to worry about winning the tournament. Salvemini's tough.
Here he is, double up. Seven pin.
John, just as you thought, the 7-pin, but you thought he would be a little higher light, but that was solid in the pocket.
Well, Mo, I think what happened there is that he got so much hook it actually rolled out the last 5 feet, and that's what caused the 7. And that's what makes that lane so tough, because it hooks back so much and then tends to roll out.
Good point.
Joe Salvemini has suffered through some physical problems. However, of late, he's made a comeback.
Well, I've had a little bit of a back problem the last 2 years. It seems to come and go. A little bit on the lower back causes me a pretty extreme pain when I try to throw the ball. Take a couple months off, a lot of chiropractic, physical therapy, stretching, and it seemed to come around. And hopefully I've got it licked, and my game right now is as strong as it's ever been, and as long as I can stay healthy, I think I'm in.
And now a 10-pin.
John, bad break?
That was really a bad break, Blow. He shredded the rack, and the headpin just went around the 10.
The ball out on about the first board, and watch the ball's action as it goes through the 1-2, and then the action of the 5-pin. As John said, he just slices that 5 right in front of the 10. Easy spare, but he will trail by 2 pins after 4 frames with this conversion.
Okay, we're in our championship match of the Johnny Petraglia Open at Carolier Lanes in North Brunswick. We'll return. Future. Our junior bowlers, 5 Pro-Am winners. Johnny?
Oh, they were just terrific, Chris. One of them shot a 7 and change as scratch. It's a good thing we're going to be retired by the time he's old enough to bowl on tour.
7 and change, Johnny, meaning a 700 series. And John, how many Pro-Am entries did you have here? I know it was a bunch.
Well, we had about 500 juniors and 2,400 Pro-Am entries altogether, with including juniors and adults.
Wow. Big.
All right, here's Ferraro now. Marked with a spare, then a double, now shooting in the 4th.
Well, Ferraro a little bit confused. Right now he has the 3-9 double wood spare, his toughest spare of the day by far, as he sees his ball drift high. And I say confused. He was so zeroed in to have a ball go high has to confuse him.
It's funnier to watch one of the pillars of bowling, not only New Jersey, but everywhere. Hall of Famer Chuck Pisano, a great journalist in bowling, watching every shot and doing some body English for both.
I agree. Ferraro, the record score, went by the wayside with that frame with the miss. Now all he has to think about is title as the match is even through 4.
He'll take it. Dave Ferraro, if you just joined us, he's won 3 matches, 255 to 248, then 267 to 180, and another 246 to 216. And the tournament leader, you're looking at him, Joe Salvemini from Oklahoma City. We're even. There it is, an even fair.
I was afraid that might happen on that lane one time, and it got a little soft and sucked out the middle.
All right, Johnny's got a tough shot here, and it really has to take a little guesswork at what he wants to do. He can either go for the 3 on the left or try to hook off the 6-10 into the 4-7-8 area. Let's see what he tries.
What a great effort.
All out. These professionals really do it. We're so proud of them. They let it hang out.
John, most people think that shooting the big 5, the easiest way to make it is shoot for the 3 pins, but when we recorded those in Piscataway, New Jersey, not a few years back, we found out that shooting for the 2 and sliding the 1 pin over into the 3 is the easiest way. Obviously, you lose counts. So right now, Salvemini made a calculated guess, and he trails by 16.
Bouncing back. The leaders by round, Branham, who was in that first match losing, and Kent Wagner.
Kent Wagner, NASCAR fan, and he's looking forward to that IROC Race of Champions on ABC tomorrow. And then Parker Bone was up there, and obviously Salvemini took over in the last 16 games on Friday. Right now, here's the tournament leader with just 5 frames to go, Ferraro.
Leaving a 2-pin and gesturing like I'm confused, or what happened?
I agree, Chris. Johnny Petraglia, what's happening out there right now in the championship pair?
Well, Bo, looks like the oil is carrying down a little bit. When he gets direct, it'll hook high, but he has to get more direct because the oil is in the back end of the line.
We want to congratulate Dick Evans, Gary Dickinson, and Bud Horn being inducted into the American Bowling Congress Hall of Fame on Thursday night in Corpus Christi. And Hall of Famer 83-year-old Joe Norris getting his needed 41 pins to set an ABC record of over 111,000 pins, Bo.
Lifetime pinfall record. Johnny Petraglia, you said the oil is carried down a little bit. It's been about over 2 hours since they started practicing on the championship pair. Right now, for the title with 4 frames left, it's anybody's match.
Well, Bo, I think it's going to come down to what kind of a shot Salvemini makes on lane 36 right now. If he misses this lane, I think Ferraro thinks he can stay clean, but if Salvemini strikes, Ferraro's going to have to attack.
All right, let's watch it. Key shot for Salvemini. 7th frame on the difficult right-hand lane.
He's wearing a wireless mic.
I didn't even move.
He's confused, John.
All right, Joe made the move. I think what happened, Bo, you've mentioned this a lot of times where he moved off the bad shot. He was soft last frame. It wasn't because the lane was hooking more, and he had moved off the bad shot and then went back to normal speed.
Good observation. Still a tough spare, the 3-5.
Look out, look out.
There is Kim.
Joe Salvemini, so confident all week long, Chris. I was watching him Thursday night just chewing some gum, marching along like this was just a little practice session. And for the first time all week long, I don't see him chomping on that gum. The confidence has faded a little bit, but there's 3 frames left. He trails by 14.
Oh, my.
Oh, my. That's right.
This is, you really got to pull yourself together now. He's still only down 24.
You're right, John. As he sends it wide on the left-hand lane in the channel, and right now trailing by 24, but he can still make the spare and stay in the match. Big shot.
Yeah, absolutely. He's really got to concentrate here. 20 pins with 3 frames to go isn't a lot. It's too much on the line to lose your concentration now.
How professional.
He shot there. Ooh. It's awfully difficult to send it wide again after you send one in the channel, but let's see what kind of hypodermic has been shot into Dave Ferraro as he comes up in the 8th with a 24-pin lead.
The man that once wanted to be a harness horse race driver shows that he has tremendous skill at this sport.
Well, he can just about lock it up with a strike here.
He amped that one up, Bo. He really threw that one hard and kept it on line. He's thinking staying clean, but I know he would love to strike and just about locked it up. But Joe's got to strike out now. It's going to be tough.
You're right, partner. Salvemini, looking at the scoreboard off to the right, has a potential 202. Ferraro going at a 206 pace. Mandatory the Salvemini strike on the next 3 balls. Johnny Petraglia, you've won them all, but you come to the 10th frame and you're a great clutch player, as Salvemini is. He threw 3 strikes to beat you for his first title. What goes through your mind at this point when you must strike?
Well, especially in Joe's mind, he's such a confidence player, a confident player. You say, hey, I led this tournament. There's a lot of pressure on me, but I'm good enough to handle it. And Joe's going to do it. He's going to strike out.
All right. Must strike.
Joe's attitude. It's like, if it isn't fun, what is it? He enjoys bowling, he enjoys life, and he's tough.
Agreed. He's still in the tournament.
Hey, this is what it's all about, Chris. Your chest is pounding, your palms are sweaty.
Right.
That's where it's fun.
And it's tournament all named for you, JP.
Salvemini can close within 4 pins with an additional strike here in the 10th. I'm sure Johnny Petraglia, that's the best break he's gotten at an opportune time in a long, long tournament.
Well, that's correct, Bo. I felt like he was going to strike out, but I didn't think he'd get one like that.
Okay, full count's very important here because even with a mark, Ferraro would have to make good counts to win.
Big round of applause for Joe Salvemini, the tournament leader, shooting a 200.
All right, for Dave Ferraro, he needs to fill 15 pins in the 10th frame. He has to mark. The strike is lock city. If he doesn't, he must spare.
He's so good.
A 32-year-old on the verge of getting win number 7.
Johnny Petraglia, you can send your son in there. Little Johnny Jr. get these 5 pins.
Nice ball.
Last year, 8 telecasts. He won the Bud Light Tournament Players Championship. 4th appearance this year. 3 times 5th. And now a better day for Dave Ferraro of Kingston, New York. There's your winner, the Johnny Petraglia Open champion is Dave Ferraro. Let's go to Frank Gifford in New York. Giff.
Okay, Chris, thank you. Super day. Glad we watched. Coming up next on ABC's Wide World of Sports, we'll return to Oslo, Norway for the World Challenge of Champions today, featuring the pairs competition. Plus, the exciting conclusion of the Iditarod Trail Sled Dog Race and the Florida Derby. You'll see that live. We'll go back to Chris Schenkel right after this.
So the Johnny Petraglia Championship has been decided. Dave Ferraro, 28,000. And there you see the other 4 finishers. So, the Kingston, New York champion came to New Jersey with a 2:46 average. Congratulations.
Thanks, Chris. I'll tell you, I don't know what to say. This feels great. It's been a real dry spell, and this really tops it off.
And at one time, you wanted to be a harness racing champion.
Yeah, I think I chose the right profession now.
We enjoyed having John Petraglia, for whom the tournament is named, along with Bo, make comments, and he has a wonderful work of crystal there, John, that you'd like to give to your friend.
I'll drop it. Yes, thank you, Chris. I can't wait to give it to him so I don't drop it. David, tremendous performance, great bowling, and, well, you know, it's a New York Easterner. I did just, back home, it's great to give it to a hometown guy.
Okay. And while he spoils a victory, Lee Livingston is the managing director. None better.
Thank you, Chris. I understand it's your 7th PBA title, so it's $7,000 at 4 games, $28,000.
And I think our time's running out. Gloria Ferraro deserves some credit.
Yeah, I'd like to say hello to my wife, Gloria, my son, John, and Gabrielle.
There he is, Dave Ferraro, 7th championship, and he is so proud of the Johnny Petraglia victory. See you next week in Cleveland, Ohio. For Bo, this is Chris Schenkel. Goodbye.
The Pro Bowlers Tour has been brought to you by Menon. There's no better way to face the day than with Speed Stick by Menon. By Budweiser, the king of beers, who reminds you friends know when to say when. And by Kellogg's, proud sponsor of our 1992 U.S. Olympic team. This has been a presentation of ABC Sports, recognized around the world as the leader in sports television.